game.
CAGcast.
Okay, we are here with an A-list internet celebrity, Wombat. This is our biggest guest ever, no question about it.
I wasn't going to argue with you at all.
Okay, good. I'd like to welcome Major Nelson to the show.
Thank you, guys. How you guys doing? A-list. I didn't realize I was in the A-list. I thought I was like in the B, maybe B-minus list.
Well, remember I said internet celebrity.
That's right. Internet and everything in the internet is exaggerated, so therefore I'm an A.
Right. You're an A-list internet celebrity, definitely. Wombat's
Definitely.
a D-list internet celebrity.
And you're somewhere, you're like a B. I would give you a B.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no
Moving up
problem.
in the world. So, Major, I mean, let's get right into it because we know, you're a busy man. Your time is limited. What really went down? Did you really lose your passport during Tokyo Game Show?
So let's first of all, this is the first time you and I exchanged emails. You were actually the second email I sent when I lost my passport.
Really? Okay.
Because I was so upset because it wasn't like I can't go to the Tokyo Game Show. It was like I can't go to Sumo with GPD. I was so upset about that.
Wow.
So I sent a note up here to Microsoft and whatnot, and it was it was either lost or stolen. It vanished. No one was more bummed than I that I couldn't come to see you in Tokyo and come to the Tokyo Game Show. I mean, all I'm saying is I'm glad that I lost it or that it was stolen when it happened because it would have sucked if it happened in Japan.
Right. Yes. If you lost it in Japan, I have an extra bedroom for you here, so.
Right, I would have been sleeping in your extra bedroom or extra whatever they call it over there in Japan, GPD, because I wasn't going to be leaving the country. So yeah, I was pretty bummed out.
You could have been his wet nurse.
That I couldn't make it. Yeah, I could have done that too. So I was pretty bummed out that I couldn't go to TGS. It sounds like you guys got along without me, and more importantly, that you had a Crescente fill in my role at Sumo.
Sumo.
Yeah, Sumo. So I for that I feel
yes, no,
good,
that was
so.
We had fun anyway. I mean, we had Chris Palladino join us.
Yep.
And we did have a good time. Although we were all jammed into this tiny little box. I'm sure Chris told you. We were sitting on the floor in this tiny box. I didn't realize how small it was. So it was a good thing that everybody wore their deodorant that day.
I was going to say because I mean, Chris is no small boy.
No, and by Japanese standards, he's the Incredible Hulk, pretty much.
And you're a different type of not a small boy either. So you all in all,
no,
sounds
I'm a large white man, a large bald white man.
In true American style, we probably should have gotten a double wide.
Right? Yeah, I didn't know how that worked, but I wasn't willing to spend $800 on sumo tickets.
Yeah, I totally understand that. So maybe next time, next year when I come out, we can maybe we can just limit it to just you and I in the little box, but we'll see.
That would be a good call. You've met Wombat before, right? In the real world?
Absolutely. We met Wombat. We met at the Guitar Hero event, correct?
At Pac-Man, yeah.
Oh, it was Pac-Man. I knew it was either Guitar Hero or Pac-Man. Yeah, we met in New York when I was in doing a couple of the events. We had him to one of our events there. It was a great time.
Yeah, so now I remember like the circumstances that you met under where it was a little awkward because just previously Wombat on our show had referred to you as the Ronald McDonald of Microsoft.
Actually, and then he actually brought it to another level and I believe called me a vagina clown.
I think you might be right about that.
I have no recollection of this at all. I don't know where this is coming from. So,
well,
Wombat,
I think we all know that the internet has a long memory, and don't make me dredge anything up.
And I know, like, if whenever somebody talks about you on another show, Major, I'm sure it gets back to you pretty much immediately, like it does whenever somebody mentions the CAGcast. I'll get a private message or an email saying so and so mentioned you guys.
Yeah, I always get those emails that I was mentioned on this show or that show, and I actually really enjoy coming on to different shows, and I love having people on my show. I just don't. I mean, you have no choice because you're over in Japan, but doing them over Skype is just so dodgy sometimes, and getting the right people, to have the right connection. So whenever I'm at events, I always enjoy interviewing people. So Wombat, I guess I have to interview you when I come back to New York next time to have you on my show.
I would be honored. How's
and
that?
You can call him some insulting name.
And I'll probably deserve it. So
So now Wombat, here I got a question for you. When you referred to the Major as the Ronald McDonald of Microsoft, what did you mean by that?
Well, it definitely has a connotation to it, but it's a spokesperson. It's the face of the company. When people think of their 360 and they think of who's the mouthpiece, who's the animated spokes character for Microsoft, it is Major Nelson.
So would that mean I'm like in Word where there's Clippy? Am I the Clippy of Xbox 360?
You are the Clippy of Xbox 360.
So that's not necessarily an insult. I mean, certainly nobody likes to be called a vagina clown, but and certainly being called a clown at all is not particularly something.
People love Ronald McDonald and laugh at him too.
That is true. So when you hear something like that, Major, and does it bother you? I mean, how do you feel when something like that gets back to you?
First of all, I get a chuckle, and then I try to always look for the context of what somebody says about me and why it was said, and unfortunately, I could never find any with Wombat. It just appeared to be some random comment.
Right. Well, are you the Ronald McDonald of Microsoft, or at least in terms of Xbox? I mean, you are the most visible face of Xbox.
Well, I guess if you want to go with that raw definition, then I guess I am. But I'm not out there pushing Happy Meals to kids. I happen to be somebody who loves gaming, like everybody here and everyone's listening to your show. And I happen to work at a technology company, and I happen to work on a pretty cool product. So I do my shows, and I get out there to talk to people because I'm really excited about what I do and all the stuff that I get to talk about. And that's really what it's all about. I'm not really all about selling Happy Meals to kids or standing on stage with Grimace. Although I guess I will be when I come to New York and see Wombat.
I would like to meet Grimace, actually. Grimace hopefully we can get Grimace on the show next.
Well, is there any correlation with, say, the popularity of your show and an increase in sales on a particular title? If you have a particular, production, someone from a game or, someone involved with a game and you have them on your show, is there any correlation with the sales of that game immediately afterwards? Does anyone track that?
I can't really speak to that because I don't look at those numbers. I don't say, this show aired now, and I don't think like that. What I try to do is I try to do the interviews on my show with people that I think are interesting, that have something to add, that the developer of, when I had Ken Levine on from BioShock, that's just a fabulous game. When I talked to Marty O'Donnell a couple of weeks ago from Halo, as much as I'd love to take the credit for Halo being a hit, I don't think I really could do that. But to your point, I've never really drawn that conclusion. I imagine someone could, but it's my audience versus the entire Xbox audience is way smaller. I mean, there's millions of people out there, purchasing Xboxes and Xbox 360s and titles. So, and unfortunately, I don't have millions of listeners yet.
Now you mentioned that you get some like AAA interviews on there, like Ken Levine and the Bungie crew. One of our listeners wants to know who his name is Hoo Ha. He says, but what's it like to speak with developers of crappy games? And he mentions Shadowrun and Tenchu Z. Now I'm not going to say that Shadowrun's a crappy game, but how do those interviews come about? Like you'll get you'll get games like some family oriented games. What's your attitude to those types of interviews?
Well, so it's a two-part answer. First is, like with Shadowrun, if you listen to that interview, I actually was talking to Mitch, who was in charge of the studio, FASA, and I turned around my laptop and I said, what's going on here with the Metacritic and the game ranking score? And I called him on it. And, I like doing that. I like having these honest discussions because people really appreciate, having that honest discussion. So on those cases, I don't want to say that Shadowrun was or wasn't a crappy game. It certainly sold some copies. But he had some really strong feelings, and he's got to get plus 10 points for the passion that he had for that title, and what he was bringing to the table and some of the design decisions. So that much I really enjoy. I mean, I've interviewed some folks in the past. Frankly, I've done some interviews that I haven't run. Not everything gets run on my show. I'll listen to an interview and go, you know what? That's not interesting. I'm not going to run it.
We know that you do you run MajorNelson.com and you do a podcast. Now, is this a lot of people are very, I think, confused about what your actual job is. Now, we know your title is Director of Xbox Live Programming, right? But what does that really entail, and what role does the website and the podcast play in that?
Well, the website, my website and my podcast really sprung out of a way, when I launched them in late 2003, it was a way for me to talk to people about what was going on with the Xbox Live service. In the early days of the Xbox Live service, frankly, it was a little finicky. We had growing pains. So whenever there was an issue, I was able to post quickly about that on my blog and let people know that, hey, we're doing an upgrade, or yes, we're aware of this problem. And I actually do that today, but obviously for much less frequency, because it's a much more mature product. But it's really that those came out of the fact that I really enjoy talking about what I do here. The blog and then the podcast is because I just have I spent 15 years doing radio, and I love radio. And that's all podcasting is a radio show. So I really just enjoyed producing my own show. Now, exactly to your question of what I do, my role is director of programming. I help program Xbox Live. I handle all the videos for Xbox.com, make sure the content is up there. We're starting to get some of our videos into the Xbox 360 on the marketplace. You'll see some of our videos start popping up there over the next few months, more and more. And over the next the next year or so, Live is really going to pick up steam in terms of some of the programming we're going to start to do around it, and some of the stuff we're going to start doing in the console. So I spend my day working on a lot of those things, and also agonizing over what does the community care about, and make sure that the right people are aware of what the community is feeling in terms of pain.
So really, I guess, is it accurate to say you're a bridge between the Xbox Live community and Microsoft corporate?
Absolutely. That's one thing that is definitely part of what I do is, when I travel the world, I talk to other people, and I come back and I send out, reports. Hey, I talked to this person. This is what they said about your product. Or, hey, somebody really didn't like this feature. Here's why. Or, hey, this is a great idea. So I'm able to go out and then coalesce and take all this data and then hand it to the right people. I was just right before I jumped on to do this interview with you guys, I was working with somebody who had a problem with their account. So I was going back and forth with him, and then I printed out the email and brought it over to one of the developers, and he's looking at it. So that's the kind of service that we can provide.
Interesting. Now, you've said before on your show that you do not work in the PR department.
That's absolutely correct. I work in the product group, the Xbox Live product team.
No, okay. So but yet you are as we sort of established, you are the most visible face of Xbox, and that it sort of falls under, maybe it's not the PR department, but in terms of public relations, you are the most visible person.
No, absolutely, and that is clearly accidental. I didn't go into this thinking, hey, I want to do this and I want to build this personality, and then all of a sudden, be the PR person. They just realize that, hey, I have the ability to go out and talk to consumers and connect with them. Let's see if we can leverage that in some way that doesn't cheapen Major Nelson and make him a vagina clown.
And I was about to say, Ronald McDonald actually got started the same way. He was, a product taster for McDonald's before he decided to go on TV. So
true? That's not
no,
true.
not even remotely.
So, with the website and the podcast, now was that something that you decided to come up with on your own, and you had to pitch that to Microsoft and say, hey, I want to have a community blog, I want to have an internet radio show?
Nope. Basically, I came up with the idea one weekend, bought the URL, majornelson.com, which was obviously still available, and started blogging and just wanted to give it a try and see what was going on. And then I told people around here what I was doing, and then when I started doing the podcast, I said, hey, I want to do a podcast. Why don't you come in and let's do an interview? So it really just it's not like I got approval or disapproval from anybody here at Microsoft. We have a policy here at Microsoft around blogging, which is basically blog smart. And that's what I try to do, is try to blog smart and connect with my readers and connect with the consumers and let them know that, hey, Microsoft isn't this big mean corporation. The Xbox team is a bunch of guys and girls that really care about their product.
Do you own the website and the podcast?
Absolutely, I own them. I absolutely own them. If you can do a lookup, and I'm the one that owns them. I use the Microsoft address for the if you look up, do a who is, but I absolutely own, because I don't want to have people showing up at my house and bothering my wife and family.
Sure. Now, I have a theory, and I'm gonna tell you my theory, and you can tell me if I'm crazy or if I'm somewhere in the realm of truth here. Now, your website and your podcast are extremely popular right now. I mean, especially the podcast. It's always on the top gaming podcast at iTunes. Definitely one of the most popular gaming podcasts out there.
Right.
And I'm sure that Microsoft is very aware of this. I would think that you would be a very difficult person to fire. I know that if I'm Microsoft, it would take some cataclysmic event for me to want to fire a Major Nelson, a guy who's got, thousands and thousands of podcast listeners subscribe to his show. Not that you would go and, start talking poorly about Microsoft, and I'm sure you have agreements saying that you can't do, you can't say certain things if your employment is terminated. But you're such a valuable commodity now, not just because of the job that you do, but because of this audience that you have. You come with a built-in audience at this point.
You also probably have direct impact towards sales, and you could probably stroll in at noon in your underwear. Is that?
No, it's more like 1 o'clock in a towel. But no, it's. I don't really think like that. I mean, I love the product. We're looking at every single day. I come to work and figure, how can we make this product better? How can we do better with this with what we're doing with the Xbox.com or with the Xbox 360? So I haven't really thought that deeply about it. I mean, I've been in touch with, for instance, I talked about this on the last week's show. I went to an offsite with Ray Ozzie, who is the new chief software architect who was handpicked by Bill Gates. And I had a long, lengthy discussion with him about community and how my approach to community and how we do things on the Xbox team. It was really interesting to talk to somebody like that who is just so frighteningly smart, way smarter than I am, and just have him understand and be able to understand how important community is. To your point, Cheapy, absolutely, it's very important. And Microsoft is not stupid. The people here are aware that I've got a huge audience, and they want to. I don't want to say keep me happy, but they're also going to let me have the freedom to do what I need to do because I enjoy doing this. And when you think about it that way, it's no longer work. It's just a lot of fun. I come to work every day and have fun, and it just happens to get a check every week.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Now, speaking to your popularity and my theory, certainly Major didn't say anything about that. He didn't think he could, couldn't ever be fired because of popularity. But that's my theory. Do you ever get any fallout from the PR department? Because you're doing a show every week. Sometimes you might say something that's not quote unquote the company line, or you don't speak up in a PR role. So I would imagine from time to time something comes out of your mouth that maybe the PR team isn't happy with. Will they come to you?
Sure. Oh, sure. They'll come to me and they'll just say, "Hey, what's this all about?" It's a perfect example is when I was doing the PAX panel. I did the PAX panel and was talking about Kotaku and Brian Crescenti and I just traded emails on that. That's all water under the bridge. But you don't think your average Microsoft employee would say something like that. But I try to have fun, and you have to talk to the audience the way that they're going to listen to you. And sometimes that requires going off the script.
There you go. I was going to bring up that Kotaku.
Yeah, I was going to say that's on your outline. That's kind of creepy. I'm a little weirded out now.
Well, I listened to that. The Major ran a panel at Penny Arcade Expo about blogging, and he made a sort of a crack that Kotaku might make things up, but it didn't really seem like a joke. And I thought that
if you remember the audience kind of started swelling up through the audience. I'm like, what do you mean, right? Remember you heard, and that was the whole thing. Is that if I thought there was something wrong here, that was my audio that I posted. Why would I post it? So.
Oh yeah. Now, I have another theory. You heard one of my theories already. I have a second theory.
You're like Einstein all of a sudden.
I'm like a retarded Einstein. Because you're so popular, and because you are basically the face of Xbox, the voice of Xbox, sure. Do you think that some of your colleagues might be jealous of your role in the Xbox community? I mean, we've established that you're not, in the PR department, but that you are, the face and voice of Xbox. I know, I've worked for some fairly large companies, nothing like Microsoft, and I know there's a ton of office politics, and with a company the size of Microsoft, there's got to be some ridiculous office politics that's that's unique to being such a huge company. So do you ever hear like any rumblings or behind the scene of of some jealousy about your role in the Xbox world?
Actually, quite the opposite, and here's why. Working with me, literally within where I'm sitting, 100 feet around me in circumference, there's hundreds of developers and testers and project managers who are hardcore geeks who run away from the microphone, who run away from the camera. So they're just thankful that they don't have to deal with it.
There you go. That's cool. Wombat, you have some questions? I know the Major's got to go. He's a busy man, so you want to bring up a point or two, and then we'll let him go?
There were just a couple of things, and these are things that have been brought up to us before, and I figured while we have you, we might as well ask them. The first question is the point pricing structure that's currently in place, where 400 points equals $5.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that was that an idea that fell on your lap? Because I know to a lot of people it's confusing. Is the international market that large where it really does warrant it? Has there ever been a discussion in changing that?
Well,
and go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead. I want to hear the whole question before.
I was going to say, and part B would also be: has there ever been a discussion where buying points because of the price structure, because it doesn't correlate with, say, 100 points equals $1, that kind of an idea, where buying points in bulk would be, you get more points for less money. $50 gets you more points than, say, spending $20.
So the points idea or the points concept was not my concept. It wasn't my idea at all. And I'm not the commerce expert here, so I can just kind of talk about what I'm aware of. Yeah, absolutely. Microsoft is a global company. I mean, everywhere on the planet you go, there's a Microsoft product of some sort, whether it's a browser, an Xbox 360, a smartphone, who knows. So we've got products all over the place, and points was just a way of simplifying. My understanding is points was a way of simplifying the purchase of products, for instance, on the Xbox 360 or in the Zune marketplace, very easily, so that you don't have to worry about that. The end user doesn't have to worry about the fact that this is equal to that. So it was really just a way to normalize it. And frankly, if we had to start dealing with dollars and cents, it becomes really, or pounds or Libra or anything, whatever your local currency is, yen. Then it becomes really difficult to design a back end that can understand and ingest that and make sure it's charging the right thing on the right day. So it really was a way for us to provide an easier way for our consumers to purchase items across Microsoft, be it the Xbox 360 or across the Zune marketplace. But again, I really wasn't. To answer your question, no, that wasn't my idea.
Oh, I didn't think it was your idea. Well, then why not simplify it even more and allow me to buy, say, 100 points at a time, as opposed to only, with the minimum being 500 points. Right now, I have 370 points, and I don't want to have to purchase 500 points to buy a new 400-point game.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've actually given that feedback to the commerce team. As I'm like, hey, we've got a 500 point, or we need to kind of align the points with what some of our major offerings are. For instance, the arcade titles, 400, 8, and 1200 points, and so forth. So I've actually given that feedback to the team, and they're like, yeah, we kind of see that. For a perfect example, and we do listen. Perfect example is after E3 last year, and this is, while not similar, you'll get where I'm going with this. After E3 last year, if you remember correctly, we had the E3 briefing up on the Xbox 360 marketplace in HD, but they put it up in 9 parts. I came back and yelled at them like, why is it in 9 parts? The download manager of Xbox can only handle 6 parts. So if you look for TGS, we uploaded it in 6 parts. So we're getting better at that.
That's
Very
good.
cool.
And I'll ask the one other question, because I know it's the thing that my colleague on the other line in Japan complains about the most is not enough space on our friends list on Xbox Live.
Yep, and I know that anybody that gets on a podcast, they always ask me this question, because the people that are running podcasts tend to have full friends list. The problem is that and we know this because we have access to all the data, the average number of friends that the average person across all of Xbox Live, the millions of people across Xbox Live, is about 24. So when you look at that number, you realize that 100 is a majority of your audience are never going to hit that number. And so we had to make a design decision early on with the Xbox 360 and reserve so many of the system resources for the guide to pop out and the friends list to run in the background and so forth. That 100, it actually grew with the Xbox 360 from the original Xbox. I think it was 18. So with the Xbox 360, the latest numbers I believe are like 25 average number of friends on a friends list. So you still have this huge headroom. You have 300% headroom or something like that where you're okay.
Except for us internet celebrities.
Right, and this gets back to where we started the conversation about us D-list celebrities that tend to have full friends lists.
Yeah, I was going to say, or if you take an average for every person who has 3, there could be someone with 100.
Right, absolutely. I mean that, and I know that I have a full friends list all the time, as I'm sure you guys do.
Yep.
But if you normalize it across all the members on the service, and again, we can do this with a SQL query. We know exactly what the friends lists are. It comes back, and I've seen it. It's like 23, 24, 23. It bounces around right around there.
Wombat, I think he's trying to tell you it's built into the system that 100 is the maximum,
and that's all we're ever going to get.
Well, at this point, yeah. What we are going to do, though, I will tell you this, is we're looking at ways that we can better manage the friends list. And that's all I'm going to say.
Cool. So maybe some type of categories or labeling system.
I was playing Team Fortress with someone over the weekend, and he brought up that exact point. He's like, I wish I could add, categories for my friends.
Yeah.
So
all right,
I know where
question.
I know this person from.
One last question, then we'll let the major go because I have so many questions from all.
I know
listeners.
I have a ton. I had one more question.
We'll have to. Hopefully, you weren't too thrown off by this, and you'll come back to answer some of these other questions. But
no, I would absolutely love to come back on the show. I know that it took us, Cheapy, it took you and I damn near 3 months to figure this out. But I promise that I'll come on again less than 3 months.
Okay, one quick question, and then we'll let you go. This is from Spoo. And he says, Major, with the comments section on MajorNelson.com becoming nothing but, why isn't this available in X country?
Yeah.
Why isn't Y demo arcade game out yet? My 360 is broken. Come to my house and fix it. Does it ever make you want to give up blogging? And also he goes on to say, when the 360 first came out, you had a decent community with good discussion, and now it's turned into nothing but a place for Microsoft complaints and rants. And do you have any plans on stopping this behavior? Because he's totally right. Because I've gone to your site and I've seen posts from people saying, "Hey, Major, it's 2 a.m. and Frogger's not out yet. I'm going to come over there and punch you in the throat."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy how personal they take it out on me. It does get disappointing to me that I see some of these people. I will tell you this though. For instance, for the past couple weeks, because of some spammers, I've actually turned off anonymous comments, which surprisingly, a lot of the noise to signal ratio has gone down. So a lot of the the kids who don't want to use their just post anonymously, they can't post because I was getting spammed. So once in a while, we'll kind of turn things off to kind of let the badness go away. But I'm looking at we've got a couple ideas. Like I want to change the way my comments are done to be more like Evil Avatar, where I'm going to make a post and then it will be the first post in a thread, so there could be threaded discussion. That's something we're looking at. So really, I totally agree. And the problem you run into is because there's so many people. I mean, I'm getting almost 1 million page views a day on my blog. Because there's so many people reading it and looking at it. It's the law of internet averages. Is that you're going to get a bunch of people who don't really know what's going on, who just are frankly coming to the party late. And I've had the discussion of why X, Y, or Z piece of content is not available in every region. Because, frankly, it's not up to us. It's up to the publishers, and they need to talk to the publishers, and the publishers maybe don't have the legal rights to release this IP in that country. And there's a ton of different reasons. And I've been over them, time and time again, and it is frustrating sometimes, but I also like the way that the community also jumps in, and I don't have to answer every question. The community at this point is fairly well educated with a lot of the major issues, where they can kind of jump in on my behalf or, on the behalf of sanity and explain to people why such and such is true.
Are you ever going to get away from I know you've talked about it on your show that you're getting sort of tired of posting all the content that, it's sort of, it's on you now to post. Somehow it's your job now to post every piece of content that on your blog.
I stumbled into that, and we're actually going to be updating Xbox.com in the coming year or so to have an automated solution so people can subscribe to an RSS feed. And at that point, I'm going to tell you, I'll be doing the happy dance. Then I don't have to post about everything. I mean, I'll post certainly about cool content coming up. And hey, did you know that this demo's up there now, or what have you? I'll continue to do that. but it's not going to be like, when it really helped a lot when I backed it down to the Marketplace roundup that I do every day, that I just posted one a little while ago. It's just kind of, here's everything that's on Marketplace today. There's so much content on Marketplace. It's mind-numbing how much stuff we have up there.
Yeah, new hats in Saints Row doesn't qualify as breaking news, I think.
Well, new hats or horse armor. Although the horse armor, that provided a whole different level of conversation now, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. That
kicked it off.
changed.
Well,
that changed things.
man,
Yeah,
we didn't get into a lot of stuff, but hopefully we'll have you come back and talk about some other issues. I want to thank Major Nelson for coming on the show. Definitely check out his blog at majornelson.com. Check out his podcast. You can go to iTunes and just type in Major Nelson and subscribe to it. Anything else you want to plug, Major?
No, I want to thank you. I think you've done it all. I want to thank you guys for having me on. It's been a real pleasure. Both Wombat and Cheapy D. I'm big fans of what you guys do at Cheap Ass Gamer. I think you guys are wonderful. I love your show, and I'm just honored to be part of the magic here, as it were, part of the magic. And I would absolutely love to come on. Maybe I can come on again before the holidays.
Awesome. Thanks
Perfect.
so much, Major.
Thank you.
Cheap Ass Gamer.